And they also do a background check on you to make sure that you're not a felon. So they're not going to arbitrarily give it to just anybody and everybody out there either.
Well, what do you think about that, Akira? The route.
Yeah, we're not knowing a lot about the actual the bill that's going to pass, or they're still in the process.
Concealed carry.
Yeah. You know, I think the point of who's doing it, the motive behind it, the intention behind it, why would you need it in the first place, it kind of, you know, we can keep creating all of these rules to try and eliminate a certain behavior, but really the behavior is more, it's kind of the intentions, the mindset, and what is that person's purpose for having it? Is it necessary to have it? You know, when you're talking about different areas, locations, how safe is the location? It's kind of hard to say because, you know, there's lots of people that aren't armed that live in very dangerous areas, which is fine. You know, and it's usually, you've already kind of taken a step over the, you know, almost expecting to have to use it by having it concealed.
Okay, and Mr. Babble, what do you think?
One thing that I think is, I mean, if you're in a heavily populated area like downtown Minneapolis, and you have a concealed carry license, I think that if someone was going to mug you, they would probably think twice before doing so, knowing the fact that that's a law that anybody can have a gun. And if you did have one, you know, it would keep you safe, and as long as you're not a hothead and pulling it out on everybody that you see on the street, you know, I think it more has to do with the carrier of the gun as to how dangerous it really is, because a gun's just an inanimate object.
Okay, let's move on.
Judge, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Typically, a handgun, unless it's a hunting handgun, is made to shoot people. That's what it's designed for shooting people.
Actually, it's for self-protection.
So,
A lot of people, it's for self-protection. And if you look at your statistics, you know that every state where they pass concealed carry laws, crime has gone down. Because just like was pointed out,
I saw that statistic and I believe it too.
And just like when they've interviewed criminals when they provide crimes, if there's any idea that that person or that home has a gun in there, they pass it by because they want the easy pickings and they value their own life also. So there is a deterrent just from having weapons or having a concealed carry. Just that itself is a deterrent.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next topic. Very good points, gentlemen. Our next topic is, where do you see the world in 10 years? Before we get started on that, I want to go ahead and just talk about 10 years ago what I see the world was, before we jump into the future. 10 years ago, 2001, the internet was pretty much in its infant state. Everyone had dial-up internet. Nobody had cell phones. Nobody had Facebook accounts. You know, so we're now into this, I guess, interconnected state. Everyone's walking around looking down as they're walking, as they're typing. Texting is prevalent. There's all kinds of issues now that there wasn't then. What do you see in the future? We're talking 10 years. If things continue the way they are, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Ray. We'll start and just kind of come along this direction. Everybody talk about a minute.
Well, as it changes, that's for sure. The way things are going right now, it's very hard to predict. I'm just hoping that the United States is still in a position where we're a superpower, which is kind of doubtful in itself, the way China's moving up in the world. It's pretty hard to say. I just hope that we can keep our civilization together, because I'll tell you one thing that I noticed that I can say is that the political parties in the United States are evenly divided right now. It's almost 50-50, and it's a very strange thing. I find it hard to believe that it's almost, the odds are almost impossible for that to happen. Half the people are for one party, half the people for another party. It's mind-boggling that could actually happen. But this is kind of like the Roman Empire. There was a fall of the Roman Empire. They couldn't decide on anything. The Civil War was evenly divided. This is a dangerous time because of that. And it's, you know, the more people instigate this thing, think the worst it's going to be, and I don't know if that, maybe it's going to be less than 10 years or not, but I don't know. There's many things that could happen in 10 years. So.
Okay. Go ahead, Root.
Yeah, 10 years is definitely far off. I like to kind of jump a little bit, and with my calendar ending here in 2012, and lots of people going off the off the wall, kind of like in Y2K. I like to say that 10 years, well, if they're right, then this whole Earth is not going to be here anyway. So it doesn't. 10 years doesn't matter. Outside of that,
Let's pretend the world would still be here.
Yeah, let's pretend. The world will still be here 10 years from now. Likewise, there's with all these superpowers, just everybody kind of battling for the top, and resources dwindling, economy crumbling, and all of these kind of things that we're so used to just being very unstable. It's very hard to tell, what 10 years like is going to be. And likewise, you pointed out, 10 years ago, the internet was, very, very, very new. Now it's almost like lifeblood for a lot of people that are really addicted to it. So it's just like, well, are you going to really get just completely lost, where humanity's lost, or is, there going to be some kind of balance or reconciliation somehow to, be able to stabilize, as a species. So,
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Well, one thing that we've seen in history time and time again is civilizations will hit a peak. They'll get really high and they'll be above where their economy ever was. But then, as we all know, there's usually a crash. And I think that we've done pretty well for a while. We've maintained our civilization pretty nicely. Especially, we're still up there, almost a superpower, maybe a superpower, not really known. But, and so I think that 10 years from now it can either go downhill or uphill. But the main factor and the turning point is pretty much this next 2 years. We'll probably see either some major changes or things will start to go back to how they were, 10 years ago, economy-wise.
All right. And Frank?
Well, I think we still are a superpower. Whether, and I think we're probably the only superpower, but I'm worried that we're going to lose that status and be brought down to the level of everybody else. That would be my concern. And we wouldn't have the same clout in the world that we have today. But I think one thing, like these young guys here, 10 years is an eternity for them, but for me and Ray over here, 10 years is kind of a blink of an eye, But one thing that changes is music. Music changing. Just look at the time period that we've seen over the next number of years. The music has changed and the technology is. I remember when I was in the service and the guy said, well, I'm not going to buy a computer till it settles down. And after about 2 years, he finally bought a computer because as we've seen now, the technology in the electronic age is not going to ever stabilize because people make their living off of that type of equipment, and it is just going to get more and more complicated and intense, and I don't know, I can't stay up with all the features that the phones have and stuff for my cell phone. I'm just happy to talk on a cell phone. But these young guys, they get on the internet and they're texting, they're doing this, they're doing that, all at the same time.
It's great. I'd like to add one other thing. I just hope that if we do lose our superpower status, that the next superpower will hold the same standards we have for humanity. And I'm really afraid of that.
I would think
it could be degraded quite a bit.
It may be, depending if they're a communist regime or not, whether or not they...
And I'd like to also add that out of all the civilizations the world has ever seen, none of them have ever lasted forever.
That's correct.
200 years. 200 years, we're about the tipping point. We're going over that.
Well, one of our founding fathers said, and I will nail this down, every 200 years you need a revolution, and we're overdue by over 100. So I'm not trying to start on necessarily right this second. Let's see. Future music. Got a couple more seconds. I would like to see future music mixing. You got a lot of the hip hop, a lot of the rap type of music, which to me is very clever in the wording and stuff. But I would like to see the combination of a fast lyric like that with singing, and somebody being able to. I know some people kind of already do that, but kind of a genre where you mix that and techno and jazz and rock mold it all into one, and you may have to break down the song in certain parts to kind of get it all. You know how they have rock music? Tree music. Why does it have to be rock? Pick another object out there. This one's at least a object. It doesn't sit still. So, with that, I'm going to conclude our first episode of PB&J for Adults. Our sponsor today of our juice, JD Bass Entertainment. Everyone put it up in the air and take a slurp. We got one left. Catch you guys on the flip side.